Chad, we're not talking maths anymore, that's done. So what do you do with the next 3 weeks? What is Port Adelaide's approach for the last 3 games?
Maximising every week, every training session and every game. We've had long meetings as coaches this morning, figuring out ways that we can prepare better during the week. Obviously our skill level at the moment is way off where it needs to be and really not at an acceptable level. So trying to find places in the schedule to get more hands-on time with the players. So like I said, we can really maximise the last 3 weeks and get some really strong momentum going into next year.
What do you do at selection? Do you change the focus there? Do you look at more youth, or do you keep picking the best 23 for that weekend?
It's a tough balance because obviously we're still out to win every game and perform really strongly in every game. But as we saw on the weekend, we experimented, not really an experiment, but tried Farrell down in the back line and saw some positive signs there. This guy like Ollie Lord, he's played all year in the Magpies in the last month, has performed pretty strongly down back, and his size is something we're lacking in defence. So whether that's a discussion going forward, we haven't had match committee yet and haven't discussed that, but I'm sure all those options will be on the table.
Do you expect consequences when you don't make finals, because it's well below the expectation of what Port Adelaide's all about?
Oh, definitely. As a first-year line coach, you're questioning yourself. Are you doing everything right during the week to make sure the back line and the team defence is at the level it needs to be? And over the last couple of weeks, it hasn't in both forms. So always looking at myself and things I could do more of or do better during the week, as all the coaches are. So it's not just the players and the coaches separated. It's everyone in together looking at ways to be better, because we understand this year has been way off where we expected and need to be.
Is there an answer as to why you haven't delivered to your own expectations?
The frustrating thing is our good footy is really strong and as good as most in the AFL, but the drop-offs we've had in games and the momentum swings, goals we give up where we shouldn't. For example, really strong quarter in the first quarter, but we give up 2 goals with 2 minutes to go in the last quarter. It's just not good enough. So I think the inconsistency in what we deliver in games is been the main area of frustration for everyone.
A lot of questions get asked about the senior coach, Ken Hinkley. What do you see of the program and the way he's running it at the moment?
Well, he came in with a really firm attitude this morning, looking at ways to get better and make the most out of these last 3 weeks. So he's really keen to get the most out of these 3 weeks. He's been great for me. Like I said, as a first-year line coach here at the footy club, the connection with the players, coaches, and all the staff around is as good as it's ever been. So I've said this a million times before. We're 100% behind him. We understand the supporters' frustration. I get that more than anyone, having been here for, I think it's over 20 years now. We expect to win here, and it's not good enough when we don't. So you completely understand why the supporters are frustrated and the anger that's out there. But just so they know, we are looking at everything, assessing every area of the program to make sure we're getting back to where we need to be.
Question: when a program's been running for a long time, people ask, does it become stale? Does it need a new voice? Does it need a new vision? Do you see any of that?
I don't feel that. Again, touching on it, my first year in this role, I'm more excited than I've ever been. Trying to do the right thing and get this footy club where it needs to be. But I don't get that sense that it's stale. The boys are all, the attitude's really good. Our training sessions, on the main sessions, you guys would see, they do train harder in season than any other group I've been with. So there's no staleness or anything like that. It's just the inconsistency, and I think just the basic skill level is areas we really need to address, because some of the turnovers we produced on the weekend wasn't up to AFL standard.
So is it a mental thing if it's a team that's consistently on the wrong end of these close games versus someone like a Collingwood? Can it be a mental thing, or that sort of part of the game that needs addressing?
I think over the last couple of years we've won the majority of close games, and it can just be in the back of your mind when you get yourself in that position. You just trust yourself to keep taking the game on. Now we've got really good structures in place for when games get tight. Haven't executed them obviously as well as we would like this year. I still think, and I'm not sure if you guys agree, just the balls we give back to the opposition are turnovers that you just shouldn't be giving back, and then our ability to defend in behind that hasn't been as strong and as desperate as we've seen over the last couple of years.
Do you know what your best back six looks like? It's almost the end of the season. It looks like you're still sort of trying to work it out.
Yeah, we've had a lot of guys rotate through there, through form and injury this year. What I loved on the weekend, one real positive with Jace Burgoyne. He was one in the first half where a lot of other guys were losing contests they wouldn't normally give up, but he was one that really stood strong in every contest he was in. He was a bit more active in offence. He got involved with ball in hand and kicked a really nice goal in the last quarter. So that was a positive. Like I touched on, Farrell showed some good signs as a back line, but are we set on what the back seven is? No, because of just the fluctuation in form and injury.
Trav's gone for a scan this morning on his hand. I know you're not a doctor, but have you had a chat with him about the severity of it?
All I know is he's available for selection this week. So I'm not exactly sure what the scan said, but I just saw someone then that said he'll be available this week. So it mustn't be too bad.
And the racial vilification stuff has reared its head again this weekend over at the Crows. Are you as disappointed as everyone else that this is still a conversation we're all having?
Yeah, I don't understand why it keeps happening. When these things happen, you see how it affects the whole club, but obviously the person targeted. So we had Marty Frederick's brother who was vilified a few weeks ago, and that really hurt Marty, and it hurts everyone. And just it's one thing that we obviously have to get out of the game. So the sooner we can first educate these people, but I thought we were on the right path, and everyone's aware of what you should think, can and can't say, but it obviously keeps happening. So more education and just get people to be nicer.
Finlayson and Dixon have served you well in that makeshift rafters. Is it time to perhaps choose one of your big guys in Teakle or Hayes and have a look at that?
Yeah, I know Hazy had a really good game in his last performance of the Magpies, and Bryn has impressed everyone in his time here. You'd only be picking them because they're a ruckman, like what those boys are doing. We won clearance, won first possession by a fair margin on the weekend, and what Jeremy can do around the ground, his follow-up work, is stronger than those other two. And I know the midfield coaches are loving what he's given when he's in there. So that'll be a discussion going forward, but I think what Jeremy's done is outperforming what those others could do at this stage.
You've lost 7 games this season within 2 goals. Is it kind of frustrating that those close games are kind of what kept you out of the 8 and out of finals?
Yeah, and like I said, the previous years it's been the other way around. So yeah, executing under pressure, not having those lapses in game, like the difference in going in at quarter time, like I touched on before, 4 goals up compared to 2 goals up, and the 2 goals we gave up are goals we shouldn't give up. There was a lot of defensive breakdowns in them, and it really flattens the mood, like at quarter time. Everyone was really up and about. We were playing a nice brand of footy, clearly on top, but you give up 2 goals, and that just fires Collingwood up a bit and flattens us. So yeah, staying switched on and treating every contest as important as the last one. It sounds like it's a really basic footy cliche, but it's things we have to be better at.
How do you motivate the boys when the mood is so flat like that at quarter time?
They're really good. They understand. Alir dropped a pretty easy mark. He came up to me at quarter time and, sorry mate, shouldn't happen. We know that. So, no, they're really good at moving on from mistakes. They do a lot of work behind the scenes in terms of mindset and staying in the moment and not dwelling on past mistakes. So, they bounce back reasonably quickly, although it would have been a lot better feeling going in if we hadn't conceded those 2 easy goals.
And what was your advice? What did you actually say to the boys at quarter time?
Quarter time message was we did a lot right in that quarter. We're still getting a little bit too aggressive in defence, coming forward on balls we can't impact, giving Collingwood easy looks out the back and over the top. So that's something as a defence coach I'm going to need to address, because it has been a little bit of an issue with these teams that play really free-flowing, aggressive offence, and we're forced to come forward, leaving us short in behind. So getting that balance right is something that I'm really looking at for the remaining 3 games of the season.